My background is real estate, as well as a few of the others that are here. And when I was in real estate back in the early 90s and into the late 90s, FHA loans were extremely difficult to get. They were very unusual, and were sort of that last resort because they did go to those that were underserved. I'm glad to hear your position. I hope that's a clear position you have shared with the Senate, who has pushed this increase on the FHA loan limits, and I encourage you to continue to do that and talk with them as we're trying to readjust this. I do have one quick question. On page 3 of the report that you had given us, talking about the underserved borrowers part of that, there's a note that 56% of all first-time home buyers in 2010, according to the National Association of Realtors, were FHA buyers. Is that, am I reading and understanding that correct?
That is their estimate. That's
okay.
Correct.
So do you believe that 56% of all first-time home buyers are underserved buyers?
What I would say is that we have a dual mission, as far as I understand Congress's creation of FHA. In normal times, to serve underserved borrowers, but that in times of crisis where there's a lack of private capital, for FHA to act as a countercyclical force and to be able to serve a broader group. And I think that's, in fact, what's happened during this crisis. And I think the fact that it's 56% of first-time buyers is, to some degree, a result of that lack of private capital. So I would certainly expect, and in fact would hope, that that number would go down and return to a more normal level. But that certainly is not a level that I believe is the right level over longer term and in normal times.
I would hope so as well. And the countercyclical element role for FHA, I think, leads logically to the next question is, should all of these first-time home buyers, these sub-700 credit score buyers, I think that it was noted 580 was a score that was out there, and should these people be in a position to be buying homes?
I would be happy to spend some time with you showing the performance data. I think the fundamental question is, if they're buying a home they can afford with a product that is going to be safe and sustainable, and they demonstrate that they can be successful homeowners, that's what we're looking at. And certainly the performance we've seen, the improved performance, tells us that by and large, they can be successful homeowners.
And I think that's the fear that a lot of us have in this current economy with the job situation as it is, that may be more risky, which goes back to a number of questions about requirements for reserves and those kinds of things. So you had I believe it was Mr. Ackerman who had asked you the question and talked a little bit about bailout for FHA. Your exact quote was, "We don't need one thus far." The page 13. You're making the claim that the current underwriting and premium structures have created an actuarially sound basis for growing capital at a rapid rate in the economy. I, for one, am pleased that it sounds like it's going to be an easy pledge from all of us on this committee to say there won't be an FHA bailout. I don't know if that is how sure you are of that, but I guess I'm looking for some reassurance that the FHA is not going to need that government assistance, because that is what a lot of the concern is that a number of us have on this committee.
And it's my concern as well, and we've been working very hard to do everything we can to make sure that we protect the taxpayer. To be clear, the new loans that we're making, even under the most severe economic scenarios that the actuary looked at, would remain profitable. So fundamentally what we're talking about here is a risk if the economy and the housing market perform worse than expected in the actuarial. That is the risk that could push FHA's capital reserves into the negative. I can't tell you here today that that's a zero risk.
Yeah, but doesn't that sort of go counter to your argument about, the FHA is needed for countercyclical, and if you guys are that rock solid, why isn't the private sector stepping in? Some of us would suspect it might be some of the regulators that have been sort of clamping down on amounts of loans that banks are holding and those types of things. But I think you're seeing sort of that push me, pull you aspect to some of my concern, at least. My time has expired, and we'll continue
Just
that
briefly, I would
conversation.
say, I think we agree that we need to encourage private capital to come back, and the fact that our market share is now shrinking is evidence, I believe, that the steps that we're taking on premiums and on underwriting are, in fact, moving in that direction.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, Ms. Waters from California for 5 minutes.